News Day continues here on One News Now. I'm Diego Castro, bringing you the biggest headlines from around the world. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky meets with U.S. President Joe Biden at the White House. Biden announced a new $325 million military aid package for Ukraine. This includes air defense systems and other weaponry to help Kyiv, as well as the second tranche of cluster munitions. A United Nations expert has earlier urged the U.S. to reconsider its decision to supply Ukraine with cluster munitions. These are tiny bombs within a shell that often fail to explode as intended on impact. It can remain dangerous for decades. It is also prohibited by more than 100 countries, which do not include Russia, Ukraine, and the U.S. This new aid adds to the $113 billion sent by Washington to Ukraine since the Russian invasion.
No nation can be truly secure in the world if, in fact, we don't stand up and defend the freedom of Ukraine from the face of this Russian brutality and aggression. And that's why we've begun the process of formalizing our long-term commitment to Ukraine's security alongside the G7 and with other partners. The American people are determined to see to it that you do all we can to ensure the world stands with you.
We greatly appreciate the vital assistance provided by the United States to Ukraine to combat Russian terror. When it comes to weapons, we will discuss everything with a special emphasis on air defense.
Russia launches its biggest missile attack across Ukraine in weeks, leaving at least 2 dead and dozens others injured. Residents of Kyiv were left shocked as they spoke of explosions and sounds of screaming and crying as the missile struck. 7 people, including a 9-year-old girl, were reportedly injured in the city. The attack also damaged energy facilities and caused power cuts in 5 regions. A video released by authorities in Kherson showed an apartment block damaged in an overnight shelling. 2 men inside the dormitory were killed, while 5 others were injured. Over in the city of Cherkasy, authorities also recorded 11 individuals injured from the attack. Thousands of residents in Karabakh have been evacuated from dangerous areas. Russia's defense ministry said it has peacekeepers taken about 5,000 people from the region. They were given temporary shelter at makeshift Russian military facilities. On Tuesday, Azerbaijan launched an anti-terror operation demanding Karabakh's forces to dissolve their illegal regime. This was halted after 24 hours following a ceasefire deal with the help of Russia. Some reports stated that at least 200 people were killed and more than 400 were wounded during the conflict. We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now World. I'm Jaco Castro. India suspends new visas for Canadians, citing security threats to its staff in its consulates in Canada. New Delhi did not give any evidence to that supposed threat. The South Asian nation also asked Ottawa to reduce its diplomatic presence in the country. This is the first time India has issued a blanket suspension of new visas against a Western country. This came hours after Canada's High Commission in India said it would temporarily adjust staff presence after some diplomats received threats on social media platforms. Earlier this week, Canada accused New Delhi of involvement in a Sikh leader's murder in British Columbia.
There are credible reasons to believe that agents of the government of India were involved in the killing of a Canadian on Canadian soil. And we call upon the government of India to engage with us to move forward on getting to the truth of this matter.
The United States says it is in touch with India and Canada regarding the probe on the killing of a Sikh separatist leader. U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said he rejects the idea of a wedge between the U.S. and Canada on the issue. However, Sullivan did not provide any more details of Washington's coordination with either nation. Canadian allies have so far taken a relatively cautious approach to the matter. Some analysts said this is partly because they see India as a counterweight to the growing influence of China. Pope Francis is set to visit Marseille, the first pope to visit the southern French port city since 1533. Francis will be welcomed by French President Emmanuel Macron later today. He will lead prayers with the diocesan clergy of Notre Dame de la Garde. The pontiff will also meet with religious leaders near the memorial dedicated to sailors and migrants lost at sea. He has referred to the Mediterranean as becoming Europe's, quote, largest cemetery, since growing numbers of migrants lose their lives on their perilous journey. And those are the top world headlines of the hour. Join us again at 9:45 a.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. I'm Jaco Castro. We are One News, all sides, all the time.